Welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about the while loop. As for now, we learned about the for loops and even created a loop inside a loop. But there is another type of loop in JavaScript called while loop. Okay. Let's understand how the while loop works and the difference between for and while loop here. So let's go back to previous video and get this code of weightlifting exercise, and let's just set this to 10 reps in this case. Yeah, this one. Now let's do the same thing with a while loop. So implementing the same with a while loop, we still need a counter so that actually we can print the current value to console, and we still need a condition so we know the test when to stop, and still we need to increase the counter somehow. Now in while loop we can only specify a condition. So in this case, while always only need a condition, right? So while rep here is greater than or equal less than or equals to 10, right? So when this condition is executed, we need to put this statement here. Here we'll say while lifting, okay? And before this, we need to declare let rep equals to 1, and after this rep plus iteration. Okay, so this needs to be declared after this. So as you can see, these both were same. As you can see, right, both were same. So first one we just getting here, right? So in the while we are getting given while. So both ways we can write the code. So this is using the for loop and this is using the while loop. So this means that while loop is more versatile than the for loop, which means that it can be used in larger variety of situations. But uh, we use the while loop, but the while loop need is condition, and that can be any condition. It doesn't have any related counter at all. So a problem without any counter, so without any number that is increasing, and let's create such an example here. So let's just turn this off. So we have only the while here. Now we do a simple example that doesn't depend upon counter, but instead it will depend upon a random variable. So what we are going to do is basically roll a dice and then keep rolling dice until we roll a 6. Then we roll a 6, we stop. So essentially, we want to keep running the loop while the roll dice is different from 6. So in this case, we don't know beforehand how many types of loop, how many times of loop should run. So we don't need a counter variable, and that's exactly the use case of while loop. Let's start by creating a random variable. So in this case, let dice equals to, we'll say math dot trunk, and then here we'll declare this parenthesis math dot random. In this bracket will say 6 bracket plus 1. I'll explain you this in a bit. So what we just did here was math.random. This function here, it creates a random number between 0 and 1. Okay, then we multiply this between 0 and 1 into 6, and there is a decimal number we generally get without this math.trunc. So let me just show you this. Without this we'll get a decimal value. See, it will just give a random decimal value. So each time it gets different output. So for everyone it will be different because it will give random. So without getting the decimal value, we use this function, this math dot this. So here we just get only the number without any numeric value. So basically, we multiply with 6. This is a decimal number. So to get rid of this decimal number, let's add math.org. So this will give us a number between 0 and 5. Then we add 1 and it gets 1 to 6. Don't worry, this is an implementation. So don't worry about how this and all works. So for this example, I'm just taking this as a scenario. No need to memorize this, just giving you an idea how this works. So let's keep this running loop until we reach the 6 or roll a 6. So here we will declare the while here. So while needs only the statement, right? So in this statement we are declaring dice when is not equals to 6. Then we'll console dot log you rolled a. See, as you can see, it is running infinitely in this system. So basically, it doesn't get stopped here. So in our case, when the dice is not equals to 6, so this iteration doesn't. So we create only one random value between 1 and 6. If that hits different than 6, then this loop here will run, but now the loop would run forever. Now because the browser will break here, because see, it is going infinitely. So for now I'm just turning this off. See, as you can see here, our browser is getting break here, so it doesn't get any response. So we need, so this is not a way how we declare here. So this gets our browser break here. So you need to close the browser and reopen it again. So this would be called as infinite loop. It keeps on running. So we don't want that. So what we'll do is keep creating a new dice value, and so when we are going to reassign this value at the end of each iteration, so let's add this function inside the loop. So when we add this inside the loop, so we need to just paste this inside the loop. So we don't require this console.log. And here we'll declare this if statement, if dice equals to 6, then we'll console.log loop is about to. So in this case, we have just removed here console.log dice because this statement breaks the browser. So after we remove this and let's execute it. So here our dice, every time it gives random value here. So when your dice is rolled, so it rolls automatically till it reaches 6, right? So when it reaches 6, the loop is about end. So in this case, first turn it gives 3, second turn it gives so Let me just reload. So this might be different for each and every one because generates randomly values. So sometimes when it is 6 on the first row, so the loop not even started, then the loop will have 0 iterations, it will never start. So the conclusion of this while loop doesn't have to be dependent upon any counter variable. So whenever you need a loop without a counter, you can reach for while loop. This happens because you don't know how many iterations the loop will have. So the situation, the while loop is right tool for this job. When we don't know how many iterations does it take, and so we don't need counter, and we know how many iterations, then we do need a counter. So this is how a while loop is executed. So that's it for this session.